When you look at a map of South America, there's one country that immediately stands out. Long, impossibly thin, stretching thousands of kilometers down the western edge of the continent, wedged between the Pacific Ocean and the towering Andes Mountains. That country is Chile. And if you've ever wondered why Chile seems so unusual, so geographically strange, so geographically extreme, you're not alone. People all over the world ask, why is Chile so weird? At first glance, Chile doesn't look like it should even work as a country. It's over 4,200 kilometers long, yet on average only 177 kilometers wide. Imagine a ribbon of land that seems to go on forever, covering almost every possible climate zone on Earth, from the driest desert in the world to icy glaciers at the edge of Antarctica. And inside that long ribbon, you'll find towering mountains, deadly earthquakes, volcanoes, fjords, endless coastlines, salt flats, forests, and bustling cities. It's like nature decided to cram an entire planet's worth of environments into one narrow strip of land. But Chile's weirdness isn't just about its geography. It's also about its history, its economy, its people, and even the way the rest of the world thinks about it. Today, we're going to uncover the secret reason behind Chile's uniqueness, tracing its strangeness back through deep time, natural forces, human history, and global politics. Because once you understand why Chile is the way it is, you'll see that its weirdness is not an accident, it's destiny. Let's begin with geography, because that's the first thing anyone notices. Chile is like a geographical jigsaw puzzle that doesn't fit anywhere else. On its eastern side, the Andes Mountains form an almost impenetrable wall, separating it from Argentina and the rest of South America. On the west, the vast Pacific Ocean creates another natural barrier. To the north lies the Atacama Desert, so dry that parts of it have gone centuries without rain. And to the south, Patagonia dissolves into fjords, glaciers, and storm-battered islands until finally reaching Cape Horn, one of the most dangerous sailing routes on Earth. This extreme geography has always isolated Chile. It's a country that feels like it's tucked away from the rest of the continent, a land apart. And that isolation has shaped everything about it. Its people, its economy, even its politics. But where did this strange shape come from? To answer that, we need to go back millions of years to the movement of tectonic plates. Chile sits on the so-called Ring of Fire, the horseshoe-shaped zone around the Pacific, where earthquakes and volcanoes are constant. The Nazca Plate, an oceanic plate, is slowly sliding beneath the South American plate. This process, called subduction, has been going on for tens of millions of years, and it's what created the Andes Mountains, the longest continental mountain range in the world. Without this collision of plates, there would be no Chile as we know it. The Andes are the backbone of the country, the giant wall that defines its shape and limits its width. That same tectonic activity is why Chile experiences some of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. In fact, the largest earthquake in human history, the 1960 Valdivia earthquake, a staggering magnitude 9.5, struck southern Chile. Earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. These are not rare disasters in Chile, but part of daily life. It's as if the land itself is constantly reminding people that they live on unstable ground. But the tectonic story doesn't stop there. Subduction also created the coastal ranges, the deep ocean trench just offshore, and the fertile central valleys that run through much of the country. These valleys, sheltered by mountains and blessed with Mediterranean-like climates, became the agricultural heartland of Chile. Grapes, wheat, and fruits thrive here, and in modern times, Chile has become one of the world's top wine producers thanks to these unique conditions. Then there's the Atacama Desert. This place is almost otherworldly, one of the driest and strangest landscapes on Earth. NASA actually uses parts of the Atacama to simulate conditions on Mars, because the soil is so dry and barren that life barely exists. And yet, beneath that desert, lie some of the richest mineral deposits in the world. Copper, lithium, and other resources have made Chile an economic powerhouse in mining. In fact, Chile produces nearly a third of the world's copper, and its lithium reserves are crucial for the global shift toward electric vehicles and renewable energy. So here's one of Chile's secrets. Its weird geography isn't just strange, it's valuable. But let's pause here and look at the human side of the story. How did people adapt to this long, thin, isolated country? Before the Spanish arrived, Chile was home to diverse indigenous groups. The Mapuche in the south, the Atacameños in the north, and others scattered along the valleys and coasts. These groups developed cultures suited to their environments. Desert dwellers irrigated small oases, while southern peoples hunted and fished in cold, rainy climates. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they encountered fierce resistance, especially from the Mapuche, who fought off colonization for centuries. This resistance created another strange feature of Chile's history. Unlike many other parts of South America, large portions of Chile were never fully under Spanish control until much later. That shaped its national identity. Chile became known for resilience, toughness, and a kind of stubborn independence. It was never the richest colony, but it was one of the hardest to conquer. When Chile finally gained independence in the 19th century, its geography once again played a huge role. That long, narrow shape made communication and transportation difficult. Imagine trying to unite a country that stretches from deserts to glaciers, where it can take weeks or months to travel between regions. Railroads and later highways helped, but even today, Chile feels like a series of distinct zones stitched together. The desert north, the fertile center, and the wild south. Each has its own character, climate, and economy. Now let's touch on another layer of Chile's weirdness: its borders. Why is Chile shaped the way it is? Why didn't it expand eastward into Argentina, or further north into Peru and Bolivia? The answer, again, is geography. The Andes are simply too high and too difficult to cross. For centuries, they acted like a giant wall preventing Chile from spreading east. To the north, wars with Peru and Bolivia did change borders. In the late 19th century, Chile fought the War of the Pacific, seizing valuable desert territory rich in nitrates and copper. Bolivia lost its coastline in that war and has been landlocked ever since, a wound that still shapes South American politics today. But even with those gains, Chile's shape remained fundamentally the same: a long ribbon pressed between ocean and mountains. And this leads us to the secret reason Chile is so weird. It is a country defined by limits: physical limits, natural limits, and historical limits. Everything about it, its narrowness, its isolation, its extremes, comes from boundaries imposed by nature itself. Unlike other nations that expanded across plains or rivers, Chile has always been boxed in. That boxing in forced it to look outward, across the Pacific, rather than inward towards South America. And that outward focus is why Chile today is one of the most globally connected countries in Latin America, with free trade agreements with dozens of countries and a strong export economy. Think about it. Chile couldn't expand east because of the Andes. It couldn't expand much north or south because of deserts and glaciers. So instead, it turned to the sea. Its long coastline became its highway to the world. Fishing, shipping, trade, and now even undersea internet cables all flow along Chile's Pacific lifeline. This global orientation sets it apart from many of its neighbors, who historically looked inward. Chile's weirdness, then, is not just about shape, it's about perspective. Another aspect of Chile's uniqueness lies in its culture. Chilean Spanish is distinct, full of slang and rapid-fire expressions that even other Spanish speakers sometimes struggle to understand. This linguistic peculiarity again reflects isolation. Cut off by mountains and deserts, Chile developed its own flavor of language. The same is true for music, literature, and art. Poets like Pablo Neruda and Gabriela Mistral gave Chile a global literary voice, while folk traditions reflect the mix of indigenous and colonial influences. Even Chile's politics reflect its strangeness. The country has swung between extremes: democratic stability, military dictatorship, then back to democracy again. Its economy has been shaped by both socialist experiments and free market reforms, leaving it with both impressive growth and deep inequality. And yet, despite all the turmoil, Chile has remained more stable than many of its neighbors, another product of its resilience and isolation. Climate is another piece of the puzzle. In one country, you can experience nearly every climate zone on Earth. Want to see glaciers? Go south to Patagonia. Want deserts? Head north to Atacama, Mediterranean vineyards, central valleys, rainforests, coastal ranges. This diversity is unmatched almost anywhere else, but it also makes Chile weirdly vulnerable to climate change. Droughts, glacial melting, and changing rainfall patterns are already stressing its ecosystems. Once again, Chile finds itself at the mercy of natural forces larger than itself. So after all this, what is the secret reason why Chile is so weird? It's that Chile is a country shaped entirely by boundaries: geological, geographical, and historical. Its narrowness, its length, its isolation. All of these forced it into a unique position where survival and success meant adapting constantly. And in adapting, Chile became a nation unlike any other, a land of extremes, of resilience, and of outward-looking ambition. Chile is weird because it had no choice but to be weird. Its destiny was written in the collision of tectonic plates, in the dry winds of the Atacama, in the icy storms of Patagonia, and in the walls of the Andes. Other countries grew by spilling across open land. Chile grew by being confined, and in that confinement, it forged an identity that today makes it stand out on the world stage. When we look deeper into Chile's social and political identity, another fascinating layer emerges: the strong sense of regional pride. Chile is not just Santiago, the bustling capital. It is a tapestry of vastly different zones, each with its own character. In the north, you find people shaped by the desert, resilient and innovative in their use of scarce water resources, blending old Atacameño traditions with modern industries. In the south, where forests, lakes, and fjords dominate, communities carry a slower pace of life, often emphasizing local traditions, indigenous Mapuche influence, and a deep connection to the land. This regionalism makes Chile feel like multiple small countries stitched together, with a common language and government binding them. And yet, despite these contrasts, Chileans share a unifying national narrative, one of endurance. The constant threat of earthquakes has given rise to a culture where resilience isn't just admired, it's expected. Buildings are designed with seismic strength in mind, schools run earthquake drills, and even conversations about the next big one are commonplace. This sense of perpetual readiness creates a national psyche that is unusually disciplined and pragmatic compared to other parts of Latin America. It's a mindset born of geography, but reinforced by generations of lived experience. Another area where Chile stands out is education and intellectual life. The country has produced some of the most celebrated poets in the Spanish-speaking world: Pablo Neruda, Gabriela Mistral, and Nicanor Parra, to name just a few. Literature in Chile isn't just art. It has been a tool of political resistance, cultural reflection, and social unity. Neruda, for instance, wasn't just a poet. He was a diplomat and a political figure whose words carried enormous weight during turbulent times. This literary legacy continues to influence Chile's identity, giving the nation a cultural depth that contrasts with its sometimes rugged and utilitarian environment. We should also consider Chile's unusual relationship with the ocean. Unlike many coastal nations where the sea is primarily a boundary or a resource, Chileans view the Pacific as both a protector and a challenge. The long coastline means abundant fishing, vital trade routes, and naval strength. But it also means vulnerability to tsunamis. The ocean is ingrained in the national consciousness, celebrated in food culture. Think seafood stews like caldillo de congrio, and woven into Chile's economy through exports of salmon and other marine products. This relationship reinforces Chile's duality, a nation both sheltered by and exposed to its natural environment. Finally, Chile's weirdness can be tied to its paradoxical blend of isolation and integration. Geographically isolated, yes, but deeply integrated into global systems of trade, diplomacy, and culture. A place where ancient traditions and cutting-edge modernity coexist. A country that feels familiar in its love of soccer, wine, and festivals, yet alien in its extreme geography, seismic anxieties, and strict national order. It's this tension between extremes that makes Chile not just unusual, but endlessly fascinating. So the next time you look at a map and wonder why Chile looks like such an odd, skinny strip, remember this. That strangeness is the source of its strength. It is a reminder that sometimes the most unusual shapes produce the most remarkable stories. If you found this deep dive into Chile fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss future explorations of the world's most curious countries. Because geography isn't just about maps, it's about the secret stories hidden inside them. And Chile's story, perhaps more than any other, shows us that weirdness is not a flaw, but a feature.